Wheel lines are somewhat limited on how steep hills they can go up and over, and they're also limited on how much flex you can have in a pipe as you go down through a canyon, for example, with a unit. A canyon might be 3 pipes wide. You know, how deep can it be? If it's more than 4 or 5 feet deep, it might be too steep and the pipe has to flex too much and you just can't make it work. So the topography does give it some limitation. Normally what we do is we try to fix up wheel lines so that they water a block of a field. One given wheel line will be responsible for, in most crops, approximately 20 acres. If you're growing grains or alfalfa, about 20 acres is about a normal area for a wheel line. Say 14 valves in this part of the world. Different story if you're growing vegetables. Vegetables are going to require more frequent watering. We have to at least double that amount of wheel lines to grow things like potatoes, where we have to water every 3 or 4 days. You need to be able to get across that field very rapidly. And so we have some, depending on the crop, it'll depend on how many acres you can cover with one unit. And the topography is going to have an effect. There is ground that is too steep for wheel lines, no question.
So could you use like varying size wheels to compensate for that?
No, they're going to roll at a certain rate. They're going to, so the wheels, they have to be the same size all the way down the line. Now they do make 3 sizes of wheels that are common for 60-foot roll. They make a 5-foot, a 7-foot, and a 9-foot wheel. Now a 7-foot wheel, it takes 3 rolls to go 60 feet. Every 20, they roll 20 foot to a roll. A 9-foot wheel takes 2 rolls to go 60 feet. It's 30 feet to the roll. They're approximate heights. A true 7-foot wheel is only 76 inches, about this high. But they call it a 7-foot wheel because it's just an easy term to use. But if you take 76 inches and calculate out the circumference, it comes out to 20 feet. And so to go 60 feet, 20 times 3 gives you 60, so it takes 3 rolls. So they've sized wheels accordingly. In southern Idaho and eastern Idaho, you will find they also will have 6-foot wheels. And that is to roll 3 times to go 50 feet. And that's specific to the potato industry in that part of the world because they want a little closer spacing to get a little better uniformity of coverage for that very critical crop of potatoes that requires really good water uniformity to get uniform product to sell to the marketplace. You know, they get paid on product quality as well as quantity in potatoes. It's very critical. So you want to make sure you get a good uniform coverage, and the more overlap you get in a system, the more uniform of a coverage you get. We're going to, next lecture gets into, after we get through looking at equipment, we're going to look at water patterns and coverage, and that's very critical in our industry. The wheels are different thickness. You can buy 16 gauge steel, and they're made out of steel with galvanizing. You can buy 18 gauge, and you can buy 20 gauge. And with metal, as the gauge gets smaller, it gets thicker. So the heaviest, thickest wheels are 16 gauge. The thinnest, lightest are 20 gauge. And most people find if you're running through any kind of tough terrain, or if you're going through row crops that are going to have hills on them like a potato field, the 20 gauge wheels just don't hold up. They will bend too easily. So the norm is to put 18 gauge wheels on the line, and then on the movers, oftentimes because of the weight of the movers, people put 16 gauge wheels on the movers, simply because of all the weight that you have being supported with that tube of oil and all of the other apparatus on the mover.